When my sister Melina was born, I was only 5 years old. My name is Barbara. She was brought home from the hospital by my parents, I recall. There was a pink blanket wrapped around this little bundle. My mother remarked, "Barbara, you're a big sister now. You must assist us in caring for Mina." My childhood would revolve around those words. Although small, our home was cozy. Everyone knew one another in the peaceful suburban neighborhood where it was situated. Both of my parents had regular careers. Mom was a secretary and Dad was an accountant. We had enough even though they weren't rich. Or at least that's what I believed until I discovered that Melina and I had different financial needs. The disparities in my parents' treatment of us became increasingly noticeable as the years went by. I was reprimanded for shattering a plate while doing the dishes when Melina was 5 and I was 10. My penalty? A week without TV and more duties. Melina ran through the house the very next day and knocked over Mom's favorite vase. Mom picked up the pieces and remarked, "She's just a little girl. She has no better knowledge." Throughout our childhood, this trend persisted. I had to perform chores in order to earn my allowance. Melina received pocket money simply for being alive. I had to wait for special occasions if I wanted new clothes. However, every time Melina pointed at dresses in store windows, she was given new ones. My everyday schedule turned into a never-ending loop of accountability. Help Melina get ready for school by rising early. Before you go to my middle school, walk her to her primary school. Hurry back to pick her up after my classes. Give her homework help. Ensure certain she consumed her snack. Keep her entertained. It was a Wednesday in May when everything changed. The day started like any other. I got up early, made sure Melina had her lunch packed, and headed to school. I had a math test that day, but my mind kept drifting to the summer camp brochure tucked in my backpack. I'd been saving my allowance and doing extra chores all year to earn my spot at the prestigious art camp. My paintings had even earned me a partial scholarship. Just 6 more weeks and I'd be there. "Don't forget to pick up your sister at 3:15, Mom texted me during lunch, as if I could forget. I'd been doing it for years. The math test ran late, but I still sprinted to Melina's school, arriving at 3:25. The schoolyard was empty. My heart started racing as I checked every classroom, the playground, and even the bathrooms. Melina, have you seen my sister?" I asked the janitor who was mopping the hallway. "The one in the blue backpack. She left with some friends right after the bell." My hands shook as I dialed Melina's number. Straight to voicemail. I tried again and again. Nothing. Maybe she went to Katie's house, I thought, remembering her best friend. I ran the 6 blocks to Katie's, my backpack thumping against my spine. Katie's mom answered the door. "Sorry, honey, haven't seen her today." For the next 5 hours, I searched everywhere. The mall where she liked to window shop. The ice cream parlor where she always begged me to take her. The park where she hung out with her friends. My phone battery was dying and my feet were blistered, but I couldn't stop. If anything happened to her. At 8:45 p.m., I dragged myself home, preparing to face my parents' worry and anger. But when I opened the door, I found Melina sitting at the kitchen table, calmly eating pizza with Mom and Dad. "Where have you been?" Mom demanded, her face red with anger. "We've been worried sick." I stared at them in disbelief. I've been looking for her everywhere. She wasn't at school and her phone was off. "That's not true," Melina interrupted, tears welling up in her eyes. "I waited for hours after school, but Barbara never came. My phone died and I didn't know what to do. I went to my friend's house to call you, but no one answered. Then I got lost trying to find my way home. You little, I started, but Dad cut me off. "We don't want to hear your excuses, Barbara. Your sister could have been hurt. She ended up on the other side of town because of your irresponsibility. But I was there. The janitor saw her leave with friends right after school." "Enough." Mom slammed her hand on the table. "Go to your room and give me your phone. And you can forget about summer camp." "What?" "No. I've been saving all year. I got a scholarship. You should have thought about that before abandoning your sister. Maybe this will teach you about responsibility." I looked at Melina. She was hiding a smirk behind her pizza slice. In that moment, something inside me broke. All these years of reading her bedtime stories, buying her treats with my allowance, helping her with homework, none of it mattered. She wasn't my sister. She was just someone who happened to live in the same house. That night, I packed away all the games we used to play together. I took down the drawings she'd made for me. I threw out the half-eaten bag of her favorite candy I kept in my desk. From now on, Melina was just another person who lived in our house. Nothing more. Through middle school and high school, I threw myself into my studies. I knew my parents had a college fund. They'd mentioned it at every family gathering, proudly telling relatives how they'd been saving since we were born to give both their daughters a good education. I'd overheard the amount once when Mom was talking on the phone, enough to cover 4 years at a state university for each of us. During my junior year, I stayed up countless nights working on scholarship applications. My SAT scores were nearly perfect. My grades were all A's. I had glowing recommendations from my teachers. When the acceptance letters started coming in, I could hardly believe it. I'd received a full scholarship to my top choice university. One evening, I decided to tell my parents the news. "Mom, Dad, I got some good news," I said, holding the scholarship letter. "I got a full ride to college, tuition, room, and board. Everything's covered." Mom looked up from her phone. "That's nice, honey." "So I was thinking," I continued, my heart racing with hope. "Since you won't need to spend the college money you saved for me, maybe I could use it for something else. I've been researching, and it would be enough for a down payment on a small apartment, or maybe even to start a small business after graduation." The silence that followed was deafening. Dad muted the TV. "What college money?" Mom asked, her voice sharp. "The money you've been saving for our education." Dad cleared his throat. "Barbara, that's our money. We saved it. We decide how to spend it." "But you always said it was for our college education," I protested. "Since I got a scholarship, we'll be using that money for Melina's education," Mom interrupted. "College is getting more expensive every year, and your sister might need extra support." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So because I worked hard and got a scholarship, I don't get anything? How is that fair?" "Life isn't fair," Dad snapped. "And it's not your money to claim. End of discussion." I stormed up to my room, tears of anger burning in my eyes. The next few weeks were unbearable. My parents acted as if nothing had happened, talking about graduation preparations and dorm shopping as if they hadn't just crushed my hopes. When I tried to bring up the subject again, they simply walked away or changed the topic. As I packed my bags for college that summer, I realized something. I was actually lucky. Lucky that I'd worked so hard for that scholarship. Lucky that I hadn't counted on them for my education. Because now I knew the truth. In this family, I could only count on myself. The day I left for college, I loaded my 2 suitcases into an Uber while my family slept upstairs. No tearful goodbyes. No family photos on the front porch. No care package of home-baked cookies. Just the quiet click of the front door closing behind me. My first week on campus, I landed a job at the university coffee shop. The hours were brutal. 5 a.m. openings before classes and weekend shifts, while other students were out partying. But it meant I could buy my own textbooks and not worry about running out of toothpaste. The only contact I maintained with my family was perfunctory. Short voice messages on birthdays and holidays. "Happy birthday, Mom. Hope you have a great day. Merry Christmas, everyone. Stay warm." They rarely responded, and when they did, it was equally brief. "Thanks, sweetie. Take care." One night, during a bout of insomnia, I found myself scrolling through Mom's Facebook page. There they were, dozens of photos of family moments I hadn't known about. Melina, now 14, at her dance recital in sparkly costumes. Her elaborate birthday party with a hired DJ and professional decorations. Family dinners with aunts, uncles, and cousins, where she was clearly the center of attention. Photos of her winning a school talent show. Posing with her friends at the mall. Her first day of 9th grade. No mention that I was about to graduate summa cum laude from a top university. No photos of my empty chair at holiday gatherings. It was as if I'd been digitally erased from the family narrative. After graduation, my friend Jessica suggested we rent an apartment together in Seattle. "The tech scene is booming there," she said. "We could both get good jobs." The thought of returning to Minnesota hadn't even crossed my mind. I accepted a position at a mid-sized marketing firm starting in their entry-level program. The pay wasn't great, but it was enough for my half of the rent in our small 2-bedroom apartment. I threw myself into work, staying late to learn new skills and volunteering for challenging projects. Soon, I was making enough to afford my own place, a tiny studio that was mine. Every square foot paid for by my own hard work. After 3 years at the marketing firm, I hit a ceiling. Despite my dedication and consistent performance, the company's structure meant I'd need to wait years for any significant advancement. One evening, while updating my LinkedIn profile, I received a message from a recruiter at Tech Dynamics, one of the fastest-growing tech companies in Seattle. "Your profile caught my attention," she wrote. "Would you be interested in discussing an opportunity with us?" The interview process was intense. 5 rounds of meetings, a presentation, and a strategy proposal. But at 27, I felt ready for the challenge. When the offer came, it was nearly double my current salary, with stock options and bonuses that made my head spin. My career took off like a rocket. Within 2 years, I was leading my own team. My investment decisions paid off, and soon I found myself walking into a Mercedes dealership, signing papers for a car I'd only dreamed about in college. A few months later, I was approved for a mortgage on a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment in one of Seattle's most desirable neighborhoods. Life was good, peaceful, until my phone rang one November evening. Barbara, my mother's voice, sounded strange, almost hesitant. "How are you?" I nearly dropped my wine glass. We hadn't spoken beyond holiday messages in years. "I'm fine," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "Is everything okay?" Yes. We haven't seen you in so long. Would you consider coming home for Christmas this year?" 3 weeks later, I pulled up to my parents' house in my new Mercedes. Inside, I found some things hadn't changed at all. Melina, now 24 and a fresh college graduate, was still living at home. She sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone, while Mom fussed over the dinner table and Dad pretended to be absorbed in a newspaper. "Barbara," Mom hugged me awkwardly. "We've missed you so much." Dad nodded from behind his paper. "You look well." The dinner was a strange dance of forced politeness and careful small talk. Melina barely spoke, but I caught her studying me throughout the meal. Finally, she broke her silence. "You've gained weight," she said with that familiar smirk. I guess making all that money means you can eat whatever you want now." I looked at her, then at my plate of Mom's Christmas roast, and smiled. Actually, I just have a peaceful life now. It's amazing how good life can be when nobody's around to bother you. The silence that followed was sweeter than any Christmas dessert. After dinner, Mom asked me to stay behind while Dad and Melina cleared the table. She led me to the old living room sofa, the same one where they told me my college fund wasn't really mine. "Barbara, honey," she began, her voice taking on that soft tone I remembered from childhood, the one she used when she wanted something. "I need to talk to you about something important." She looked older than I remembered, more tired. Her hands fidgeted with the edge of her sweater as she spoke. "Your father retired last spring," she said. "His health isn't what it used to be. The medication costs are, well, they're more than we expected. And I had to cut back to part-time at work to take care of him." I sat silently watching her gather her thoughts. "The house needs work, too," she continued, gesturing at the water stains on the ceiling. "The roof leaks, the furnace is ancient, and we can barely keep up with the basic repairs. We're struggling, Barbara." Then came the words I'd been waiting for. "We've seen how well you're doing, that beautiful car outside, your success. We're so proud of you. We were wondering if maybe you could help us out a little." I looked around the house where I'd grown up, at the fading wallpaper and worn carpet. Despite everything, I couldn't bear the thought of my parents struggling. "I'll send you $1,500 a month," I heard myself say. Mom's eyes lit up. She threw her arms around me, hugging me for the second time that night. "Oh, Barbara, thank you, sweetheart. This means so much to us." True to my word, I set up the monthly transfers as soon as I got back to Seattle. Every month, like clockwork, $1,500 went to my parents' account. I told myself it was for Dad's medical bills and house repairs. I didn't ask for receipts or documentation. I was too busy with work to micromanage how they spent it. But occasionally, during my rare free moments, I check Melina's Facebook page. There she was at the new fusion restaurant downtown, posting photos of elaborate sushi platters. Another post showed her with shopping bags from designer boutiques. She posed in new outfits in every photo, expensive ones, judging by the brands. All while supposedly living at home with our struggling parents. Maybe she got a job, I thought. But her posts were all during working hours, lunch at trendy cafes on Tuesday afternoons, shopping sprees on Thursday mornings, spa days on Mondays. Something didn't add up. But I was too wrapped up in my own career to investigate. My team was expanding. We had major projects launching, and I was up for another promotion. The call came during a crucial meeting with my team. Mom never called during work hours. Our only communication had been through the monthly bank transfer notifications for the past year. I excused myself and left the conference room. "Barbara, we need your help," my mother said without preamble. Her voice carried an urgency I hadn't heard since childhood. "We need $50,000. It's an emergency." "Mom, wait." But she had already hung up, leaving me staring at my phone in confusion and fear. My mind immediately went to my father. His health had been declining. That's why I'd been sending money home every month. Was he in the hospital? Did he need emergency surgery? The medical system could be ruthless with its costs. I remembered how weak he'd looked at Christmas. I walked back into the conference room, gathering my things. "I'm sorry, everyone. I have a family emergency. Sarah, can you take over?" Within an hour, I had canceled my meetings for the week and booked the first flight to Minnesota. The entire trip from Seattle, I kept imagining worst-case scenarios, Dad in intensive care, medical procedures they couldn't afford, desperate choices they had to make. I'd seen the headlines about healthcare costs bankrupting families. The rental car's GPS indicated I was still 20 minutes from my parents' house when I noticed something odd. All the lights were on in their house. I could see it from the end of the street. It didn't seem like the scene of a medical emergency. Usually, during a crisis, people forgot about things like turning on lights. I barely had time to knock before the door swung open. Mom's face fell when she saw me, as if I were a door-to-door salesman rather than her daughter who'd flown across the country for an emergency. "Barbara, what are you doing here?" Behind her, I could see Dad sitting in his armchair, looking perfectly healthy, and reading a magazine. Melina was pacing in the living room, typing frantically on her phone. "You didn't have to come," Mom said reluctantly, letting me in. "We just needed you to send the money." The house smelled of coffee and pastries, definitely not the atmosphere of a family crisis. "What's going on?" I looked around the room, taking in the scattered bridal magazines on the coffee table I hadn't noticed initially. "Dad, are you okay?" "He's fine," Mom snapped, shooting a warning look at Melina. "Everyone's fine. You really didn't need to come all this way." That's when Melina stepped forward, practically bouncing with excitement. She thrust her left hand in my face, a massive diamond ring catching the light. It had to be at least 2 carats, probably more than her boyfriend could afford on his entry-level salary. "I'm getting married," she squealed, "and we need the money for the wedding. $50,000 should cover the basics." I stood there stunned, my carry-on bag still in my hand. The emergency that had made me cancel a week of important meetings, book a last-minute flight, and worry myself sick was a wedding. "Well, we need to book the venue soon," Mom explained, as if this made perfect sense. She sat down on the couch, smoothing her skirt, as if we were discussing weekend plans. $50,000 isn't much for a wedding these days. It's really quite modest when you think about it. Melina nodded enthusiastically, still admiring her ring. "I actually wanted a $100,000 wedding, but I thought about you, sis. I cut everything in half to make it easier on you. You should be thanking me, really. I mean, it's not like $50,000 is a lot of money for you anymore." I looked at my sister's smug face, my mother's expectant expression, and something inside me finally snapped. "No," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "I won't give you a penny for this wedding." The silence that followed was deafening. "What?" Melina whispered, her expression morphing from shock to rage. "You heard me. I won't pay for a wedding for someone who's made my life hell since childhood. Someone who lied about me, stole from me, and got me punished for things I didn't do. Someone whose dirty tricks cost me my summer camp, my phone privileges, and countless other things. And you too," I turned to my parents. "You always took her side, always believed her lies over my truth. How dare you?" Mom jumped up from the couch. "After everything we've done for you, everything you've done for me." I laughed. "Let's talk about what you've actually done with my money. Show me the receipts." "What receipts?" Dad finally spoke up. "The medical bills I've been paying for. The house repairs you said you needed. Show me where my $188,000 went over the past year." The room went very quiet. Mom and Dad exchanged panicked looks. We used it for necessary things," Mom stammered. "Necessary things like Melina's shopping spree, her restaurant visits, her new designer clothes." I pulled out my phone and opened Melina's Facebook page. Funny how someone living with our struggling parents can afford Gucci bags and weekly spa visits. Melina's face turned red. "You've been stalking me." No, I've been watching you flaunt my money all over social media. You selfish bastard. Melina screamed, tears streaming down her face. You have everything: a fancy job, a nice car, a beautiful apartment. Why can't you share? We raised you better than this, Dad joined in. You've become a greedy, heartless person. Heartless. I felt surprisingly calm. No, what's heartless is manipulating your daughter for money. What's heartless is spending her college fund on your favorite child. What's heartless is lying about medical bills to bankroll your youngest daughter's lifestyle. I picked up my bag. I'm done. Today marks the end of the monthly payment. Please never again call, message, or ask me for anything. This cannot be done to us. With mascara streaming down her face, Melina was now in full hysterics. I've already shared my ideal wedding with everyone. I looked around one final time and proceeded to the door. That seems to be a problem with you. Before I even arrived at my rental car, the calls and messages began. My phone was buzzing with notifications by the time I arrived at my hotel, texts accusing me of being cold-hearted, ungrateful, and self-centered. Mom's voicemails in which she laments her family's responsibilities. Melina threatened to tell everyone how awful I was in her messages. All right, inform everyone. I took a seat at my laptop and began writing an open letter on truth, money, and family. I went into great detail about the latest financial fraud, the college money theft, and the manipulation during childhood. I included time-stamped screenshots of Melina's extravagant posts from the months I was paying her medical funds. I concluded by stating that they wanted a wedding that cost $50,000. Within our extended family, the post went viral. It was referred to as shameful behavior by Aunt Susan. Mike, a cousin, claimed to have never witnessed such manipulation. Uncle Robert, who is known for mediating family conflicts, canceled his RSVP to Melina's wedding. My cousin Jamie informed me about Melina's wedding 3 months later. Our parents and her husband's family joined her for a peaceful meal at Olive Garden. Breadsticks and a small menu with no expensive flower arrangements, a fancy setting, or a fashionable clothing. When I heard the news, I grinned, but I wasn't satisfied. I was too preoccupied with my own life. Recently, my team at work successfully launched a project. I had begun dating Michael, a good-hearted software programmer who recognized my familial limitations. According to my therapist, I was progressing quite well. I still occasionally receive message requests from my relatives late at night. I don't read them before deleting them. The young child who longed for her parents' approval is no longer there. A woman who at last realizes that true family need not be related by blood has taken her place. All they need to do is be like you.